There's a special kind of tension that builds before a Clásico when actual silverware is on the line, and that's exactly the atmosphere that surrounded Real Madrid and Barcelona as they walked out at Camp Nou for the first leg of the Spanish Super Cup. Forget the idea that this was just another pre-season exhibition. Both managers made it clear in the build-up that this was effectively the first trophy of the new campaign, and neither side intended to treat it like a glorified training session. The context heading into this match mattered just as much as anything that happened on the pitch. Ernesto Valverde had only just taken charge of Barcelona, stepping into the job after Luis Enrique departed at the end of May, and a home Clásico against the reigning league champions was about as demanding a first major test as any new coach could ask for. On the other side, Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid arrived at Camp Nou off the back of a rocky pre-season by their own standards, a draw against Manchester United, a defeat to Manchester City, an earlier loss to this very same Barcelona side in a pre-season friendly in Miami, and even a draw with the MLS All-Stars. None of those results were catastrophic in the grand scheme of things, but Madrid clearly wanted to flip the script the moment things actually mattered, and a Super Cup first leg against their fiercest rivals was the perfect stage to do exactly that. One of the more interesting subplots heading into kickoff revolved around Cristiano Ronaldo. Coming off a shortened summer break and having gone through only a handful of structured training sessions under a carefully managed individual fitness program, Zidane opted to keep his star forward on the bench to begin the match, trusting Marcelo to start in his place further up the pitch instead. It was a calculated decision rather than any kind of snub, the sort of squad management top coaches make when they're thinking about a long season rather than just 90 minutes in August. There was also a broader storyline simmering in the background that gave this particular Clásico extra weight. Barcelona had spent the closing weeks of pre-season dealing with the fallout of Neymar's blockbuster departure to Paris Saint-Germain, a transfer that reshaped the entire identity of their forward line just days before this fixture. Whatever questions remained about how Valverde planned to fill that gap, a first Clásico in charge, with a trophy attached, no less, was never going to wait around for answers. Real Madrid, meanwhile, arrived as reigning league champions but with a squad still working its way back to full sharpness, making this opening leg feel less like a coronation and more like a genuine early-season litmus test for both sides. The first half lived up to the cagey, feeling each other out reputation these early-season Clásicos sometimes carry. Both sides had spells of possession and the occasional half-chance, but genuinely clear-cut openings were rare, and the match went into the break still scoreless. It wasn't necessarily a thrilling 45 minutes for the neutral, but it set the stage perfectly for everything that was about to unfold once the second half got underway. Real Madrid struck first, and the goal had a slightly unfortunate flavor for Barcelona. Just 5 minutes into the second half, Marcelo whipped in a cross from the left that deflected awkwardly off Gerard Piqué's foot and looped beyond Marc-André ter Stegen into the back of the net. It wasn't the kind of goal that gets celebrated wildly by the scorer's own teammates, since Piqué himself was the one who'd inadvertently turned the ball into his own net, but a goal is a goal regardless of how it arrives, and Real Madrid had the lead at Camp Nou of all places. Barcelona pushed for a response and nearly doubled their misfortune a few minutes later when Karim Benzema almost extended the lead, with Dani Carvajal's follow-up shot somehow cleared off the line by Jordi Alba in a moment of real desperation defending. Camp Nou had gone from confident to nervous in the space of about 10 minutes, and Valverde's new project was suddenly staring down the barrel of a difficult opening statement in his first Clásico in charge. Barcelona did eventually find their way back into the match, though the manner of the equalizer sparked plenty of debate afterward. In the 77th minute, Luis Suarez went down under contact from goalkeeper Keylor Navas inside the penalty area, and the referee pointed to the spot without much hesitation. Lionel Messi stepped up, as he so often does in matches like this, and calmly converted the penalty to level the score at 1-1, extending his already remarkable scoring record in this fixture. For Barcelona, it felt like the perfect response after a tense and uncomfortable hour and a half. For Real Madrid, and for plenty of neutral observers watching closely, the penalty award itself looked soft enough to question. Whatever frustration Real Madrid felt about that decision didn't last long, because this was the moment the match truly turned into the Cristiano Ronaldo show. Just 3 minutes after Messi's spot kick had leveled things, Real Madrid worked a swift counterattack, and Isco picked out Ronaldo with a long, perfectly weighted ball. Ronaldo, who had come on as a substitute earlier in the half specifically for moments exactly like this one, took the ball in stride and rifled a shot into the top right corner from the edge of the box, giving Navas's opposite number no chance whatsoever. It was the kind of finish that needs no exaggeration to sell: clean technique, total composure, and perfect timing, arriving barely 180 seconds after Messi had just pulled his side level. If you wanted a single moment to capture the spirit of this rivalry, scoring directly off the back of your greatest individual rival's equalizer is about as fitting as it gets. Predictably, Ronaldo's celebration matched the magnitude of the moment, and that's where things got complicated for him personally. He whipped his shirt off in the heat of the celebration, an automatic yellow card under the rules, and the referee booked him for it without delay. Then, barely 2 minutes later, Ronaldo went down in the penalty area following a collision with Samuel Umtiti, and rather than awarding anything in Madrid's favor, the referee judged it to be a dive and produced a second yellow card. 2 cautions in the space of a few minutes meant an automatic red, and suddenly the match's biggest star and the man who had just scored arguably the goal of the night was making the long walk off the pitch in frustration. To make matters worse for him afterward, video review later showed Ronaldo shoving the referee on his way off, a moment of pure anger that would carry consequences well beyond just this one match. Even with Ronaldo gone, Real Madrid weren't finished doing damage. In the 90th minute, they worked the ball forward one more time, and Lucas Vazquez found Marco Asensio, who curled a finish into the top left corner to make it 3-1 and put a deeply convincing gloss on what had already been a statement performance. For a 21-year-old still establishing himself in this Real Madrid side, scoring in a Clásico of this magnitude was the kind of moment careers get built around, and it sent the away end inside Camp Nou into raptures as the full-time whistle approached. When the dust settled, Real Madrid had won the first leg 3-1, but the post-match conversation was dominated almost entirely by Ronaldo's red card and what it would mean going forward. The Spanish Football Federation didn't stop at the automatic one-match ban that comes with a straight sending-off. After reviewing the contact with the referee, they handed Ronaldo a 5-match suspension that ruled him out not just of the second leg of the Super Cup, but several league fixtures into the new La Liga season as well. It turned what should have been a celebrated, spectacular goal into a genuinely messy few weeks for both player and club, even as the scoreline itself couldn't have gone much better for Madrid. As for the trophy itself, Real Madrid made sure the first leg cushion held up. Without Ronaldo available, Zidane shuffled his lineup for the second leg back at the Santiago Bernabeu, bringing in fresh faces including Vazquez and a rotated midfield, and Asensio picked up exactly where he'd left off in Catalonia. He smashed in another long-range screamer early in the second leg, Benzema added a second before halftime, and Real Madrid cruised to a 2-0 win on the night, sealing a thoroughly dominant 5-1 aggregate victory and lifting the Spanish Super Cup as the new season's first piece of silverware. For Valverde, it was a tough beginning to life in the Barcelona dugout against a fierce rival, even if there would be plenty more chapters still to come in this rivalry over the following years. It's also worth remembering just how loaded this individual moment was within the broader Ronaldo-Messi storyline that had already defined nearly a decade of Spanish football by this point. Messi's penalty in the 77th minute pushed his personal scoring tally in this fixture to a genuinely historic number, reinforcing his reputation as the player most likely to produce a decisive moment in the biggest games. But the speed and quality of Ronaldo's response was its own kind of statement, a reminder that whatever Messi could produce on a given night, Ronaldo had built a career on answering almost immediately. Neither man needed the other to validate their brilliance, but moments like this one are exactly why their rivalry captivated an entire footballing generation, not just the individual numbers, but the way each player seemed to raise his level the instant the other one did something special. Looking back, this particular Clásico will always be remembered far more for that 80-minute moment than for the final aggregate scoreline. Messi did exactly what Messi does, dragging his side level with ice-cold composure from the penalty spot in a hostile, high-stakes atmosphere. But Ronaldo answered almost immediately, turning a routine counterattack into a finish that reasserted exactly why these two players spent the better part of a decade pushing each other to be the best version of themselves. The fact that it came wrapped inside a yellow card for a shirt celebration, a second yellow for an alleged dive, and a shove on the referee only made the whole episode feel more chaotic and more unforgettable, in true Clasico fashion. If you enjoy breakdowns of the biggest Clasico moments and the rivalries that define modern football, stay subscribed, because there's plenty more history worth revisiting in the videos coming up next.